But you know what? I think like I got some feedback, and I'm gonna just stay present here. I'm gonna let Gary do his thing. Oh, there it is. See, it's live now.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So, but I'm gonna let Gary do his thing.
You just have to make sure the audio is turned off on the app.
Yes. Audio. So.
Okay, it's live on both Facebook and on YouTube.
Awesome. Excited. So, Catherine, how's your day going so far, love?
It's been good. It's been a great Friday. Warm and muggy up in Vancouver. How about you?
It's been good. It's been busy, just navigating through these very interesting times.
Oh, yeah. Definitely interesting.
I know,
although,
right?
I don't know, like Vancouver here, as people have been more lax about stuff now. Like, we have this like a citywide fair that goes on, and they just opened this weekend. So they're like letting people into this fair. So I don't know. It's like we're kind of a little bit more relaxed now. It's weird.
Interesting.
I don't think.
How are the numbers up there though? Are they increasing? Are they kind of stabilizing, decreasing?
It's actually pretty low. Like I think. So in Greater Vancouver, we have a city called Richmond, and it's basically all Chinese people. And like once, I think basically end of December, early January, they just started not going out. Like, because they had heard of, I guess, from their families in China what had happened. So they just already started quarantining themselves early January, all of Richmond. So then it just rippled out through the city. Everyone was like already practicing a lot of those things pretty early on.
Very cool.
And I think that helped.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, I think the reason why the numbers are going up out here, especially in the States, is because there was a lot of the protesting.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of people that showed up. So,
yeah.
It's not a surprise.
Yeah, for sure. I know. So what did you end up doing today?
I worked,
Yeah.
Normal grind, back into the grind. I'm here in my studio. See, it's my massage studio.
Oh, I love it. I love the grass background.
Thank you.
It's very zen.
Right. The healing vibe,
Yeah. I'm in my basement. I don't know if this is my husband's kind of office area. He's got his pull-up bar thing that apparently I bought, and I thought I was going to eventually be able to do a pull-up, but I never did. So I haven't used
and dream, right?
I will. I think eventually when I turn, I don't know, an age, maybe like 45 or 40 or something like that, I'm going to do a pull-up. That's the age.
Never too late.
Never too late.
Keep the dream alive.
Oh, totally. Like my dream, I don't know if you believe in like zombie apocalypses and stuff like that, but like I always have this fear, like what if like I'm on a cliff and I can't pull myself up? Then I'm gonna be eaten alive. I gotta like learn how to pull up. I gotta get my endurance going and like my lats trained in case that happens. Just motivation.
Trained to be an American Ninja Warrior.
Oh yeah, just in case.
Right. To see the things that the human body can do.
I know. Oh man. So what do you how's the weather like? I guess LA is always hot.
It is actually warming up a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. Definitely got hot. Not as bad. Sometimes it gets into the hundreds. So we're not.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but it's getting warm.
Oh man. I have this theory with my husband where the people born in the winter love the heat, and then the people born in the heat hate the heat. I don't know if that's true.
I get it. Yeah, it's like you always want what you don't have type thing,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Because my husband's born in summer. He hates being hot. Like he just doesn't want like the sun, and he likes the sun, but just like milder.
Exactly.
Whereas I love the heat. Like I love sweating, and I love just like being out and burning. Sorry. And then
Did you guys put the YouTube link on your
in the middle
pages?
of winter, and so I'm like, I hate being cold. Like I'm layered up every winter just because I hate the cold, and I hate snow. I hate snow too.
All right,
Yeah.
I see the timer. We're getting down to a minute. Yes, Gary, were you about to?
Yeah, did you guys share the YouTube link on your pages? I
Okay.
noticed that the YouTube comments aren't coming up on here. Only the Facebook comments will come up. So if there's a YouTube question, you probably have to read it off YouTube.
Okay, got
Okay.
it.
I'm gonna try and share the link as well.
All right, we've got
Oh, we've only got a couple seconds, love. 20 seconds.
Ooh.
about 10 seconds, actually.
Oh, 10 seconds. Okay. Oh, yeah, I forgot. There's a lag.
Yeah.
Right. So let's just go ahead and stay grounded. Get ready.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Okay. You guys are live.
Awesome. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to Show Face to Face. Today, I have our guest speaker, Catherine Chan, who is a published author. So amazing. I didn't even know she had 3 books. I thought she only had 2. She's got 3. So it's pretty amazing. You know, these topics really kind of encapsulate around relationships. I think relationships are such an important topic. Of course, not just intimate relationships, but all across the board. We all have different sets of relationships in our lives. And how do we, you know, make sure that we have healthy, balanced relationships, loving relationships versus toxic relationships. So Catherine has, you know, quite some experience with online dating. She is successfully married. And so I'm going to Catherine.
Yeah, hi.
Introduce yourself to the audience and a little background on how you got into this writing journey.
Oh, so I'm Catherine Chan. I'm an author, as Angie had mentioned. I've published 3 books. I really started out like from my blog. So I called my blog Some on Sleeve. And so some in Chinese means heart. So I've always been kind of like a heart and sleeve kind of person. I've always shown my emotions on my face. When I'm happy. Like when I don't like someone, you can kind of tell. I'm like the worst poker player. Like if you ever played with me, you'd win all my money. That's why I don't play. So then when I started my blog, I thought about my name and I was like, you know what? Like growing up, feelings were never talked about around the dinner table, and I need to talk about those things. Like I became a mom about 4 years ago, and I started reflecting on my childhood and about the things that we talked about around the dinner table, and things were like, you know, what celebrities were doing, what like our judgment on their feelings, or how they felt, or it was very much like mundane things of what happened during the day or about the food we're eating. And so I was like, I don't want that for my kids. I gotta like start doing something about that. And I just started writing, and writing's always been a passion of mine. I started a diary when I was like 11 years old, like, and even wrote like mini little books since I was in grade school. So I just started writing all these things. And then the idea of creating a blog came about because I started Googling other moms who maybe shared the same journey that I was going through. And then the blog became bigger. I started listening to Gary Vee and started going on the socials. And then I was like writing about dating as well, because I'd gone on a really, really crazy dating journey before meeting my husband. And some of those blog posts were actually the most popular ones. And so I was like, okay, I'll take the data and write a book about it. And then along that journey, I was writing about like Asian parenting and like reflecting on my childhood and stuff like that. I was like, well, there's a lot of people or my age or even older or younger, just with Asian parents who have immigrant parents who have issues with them. And I've kind of gone on a journey with my parents and improved that, and decided let's also write a book on that. So that's how it came about. It started from a little blog of mine, and turned into 3 books.
Amazing. And so, yeah, so I mean, I would love to learn more about, you know, the history of, let's start with, I don't know, your marriage, you know, the online dating thing. I think so many people are navigating through, again, such an interesting time with COVID. And I feel like with social media and online dating, it's just a whole nother,
like weird kind of mingling of everything, right?
Yeah. Please share like your experience, you know, what you went through, how you were able to finally get meet your husband and have success? What was that journey like?
Oh man. Okay. So, a little bit of context, I guess, a little background. I was with had an ex-boyfriend. We were together for about 8 years, and we had to end things because I wanted to get married and he didn't. So I was in my late 20s. I was like, okay, dude, we've been together for 8 years now. Like, we bought a house together even. Like, we're kind of like, oh, come on. And, just let's move things forward. And he didn't want to, he wasn't ready. And I said, okay, you know what? I cannot be with you anymore. So we went through a very mutual breakup, very kind of just, it was peaceful, I guess. And I was like, okay, fine. Like, I want to get married. I'm in my late 20s. I've got this like mission thing. I knew what I wanted. And I just dove right in, like, as someone who's never dated before, because I was in a relationship for most of my adult years. I don't really count like high school dating, kind of. It's like a different kind of dating experience. So I just dove right into online dating and signed up. Like, this was like 2013 ish. So like, it's not as crazy as all the different apps that you have now. I think we had just gotten Tinder. I didn't actually sign up for Tinder at the time, but I like signed up for POF and OkCupid and I don't even know some other ones. And just like, if you don't, like, I didn't know what I wanted, right? Like, I just went out there and just said yes to anyone. And you go on these crazy, crazy dates and you're just like, I don't even know what I like, who I'm with and like who these people are. And obviously got my feelings hurt a lot, like I got ghosted, I got catfished. And just, like, there's some of them where you just kind of both know you're not right for each other. You kind of just ghost each other. And then I just sat down. I was like, okay, I gotta stop doing this. I just gotta like stop, take a moment for myself, self-reflect on what I want and what I need and what I really deserve in a partner after having gone through an 8-year-long relationship. And I came up with 3 things, which is what I needed, which are like the core values of who I am and embracing those beliefs that I grew up with as my childhood, as an adult, how I've influenced like your moral compass of what is right and what's wrong, how you value money, marriage, kids, all these like kind of like really true things that are core to you. And then what I wanted, which was like the fun stuff, like what you're attracted to physically, the energy levels of people, and like the fun, like the little bits that the horny bits that kick in when you're in high school, and you kind of like explore that, like what am I attracted to, on that level, physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And then lastly, which is what I deserved, because like you can have like a billion things on your list of things that you need and want, but ultimately you got to like dive into yourself and realize, what do I actually deserve? What on my list do I need so that I actually deserve a partner that meets those needs and wants? And so I created this and I just started kind of reflecting on myself. And next thing you know, like, I went on my first date with my husband and I found him. And so that was kind of like my journey of dating. And then we got together and there's like, we just knew. And I mean, it was like up and down. Like, I kind of was a little bit scared because I'd just gone out of something and I told him that. And we took a slow time to kind of really let things gel. And then 2 years later, we got married. We've got 2 kids now. And yeah, it's an ongoing journey of marriage. And that's like my 3rd book, which is How to Have a Happy and Healthy Marriage, which really is a lot of lessons I learned from my previous relationship that I apply into this marriage so that it kind of works, as well as like things that I've learned from myself in this marriage so far, which I've been married for about 5 years now. Yeah.
Awesome. Now I want to really kind of dive in, of course I'm sure it's quite a journey. But how do you think some of the cultural upbringing, affected your unsuccessful relationships versus your successful relationship?
Oh man. Maybe like, I would say narrowing it down to 2 things. So anger management. Like for me, I grew up where my dad was the explosive, loud, yelling kind of person. That's how he expressed his anger. And then he'd go into his man cave downstairs and then regroup and then come back out peacefully. And my mom was very much like, chill, like very, very passive aggressive in the way she expressed her anger. And so with my previous relationship, I really took on that role, which was like hold things in and internalize a lot of things, because I felt like because when I first met my ex-boyfriend, I was like 19 years old. So you really don't kind of really know how you manage your anger. You have like your angst, your teenage angst that you kind of go through as your hormones kind of balance out as an adult. But I didn't really know. And so as I grew into womanhood, I was like, oh, I think that's the right way to do it, is to just hold things in and not talk about things until you're like that last straw on the camel's back, where you explode at your boyfriend and he's just like, what the fuck? Where did this come from? And so I think that from my upbringing affected my previous relationship, which I really try not to in my current marriage, is to have those explosions. And rather, when those little things bug you, like, speak up and say, hey, you know what? Like, when you leave the dishes in the sink and you don't rinse them, it bothers me. And using non-blaming language in that interaction, so that it doesn't pinpoint him as he's the problem. Rather, I see dishes in the sink, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling, frustrated, I'm feeling stressed out, and these are the reasons why. So I apply that. And then I think the second thing, so anger management, and the second thing is, like, one of the things I took on the role in my previous relationship was parenting. Parenting my boyfriend, you know what I mean? Like that, it's called over, and I recently just learned this term, which is over functioning, and taking on things that aren't necessarily your responsibility that he can do himself, but like worrying about his health and trying to control what he ate, trying to control how he dressed, his fashion sense. Like, oh no, he doesn't look the way that I want him to look, so I gotta like buy clothes for him and make him look the way that I want him to look. Things like trying to make sure he gets to work on time, make sure that like he gets to his meeting, like just over functioning to an nth degree that I shouldn't have been in that previous relationship. With this relationship, I'm like, and also I'm with a different person, and he's a lot much more mature. He's a grown man. He's, and I just obviously don't parent him at all. And I just let things slide, or not slide, but just let, like, hands off. Like, like he wants to eat whatever he wants. He can work out whenever he wants. He's going to attend his meetings whenever he's going to wake up late. He's going to make up on time. And really, those were the two things that I felt that I take from my previous relationship into my current one.
Amazing. And so how did you even come to that realization that, it's great that you had that awareness of like, wow, I'm not knowing how to manage my emotions at 19, and I'm, being passive aggressive, basically, so many words. And also with the overparenting with your other partner, how did you come to that realization and then change those behaviors?
I really, a lot of it comes down to self-awareness and really knowing yourself. And I think for me, like, understanding when you get to that point in your health where you are self-destructive. Like, for me, I have a history of an eating disorder, and I've got poor body, like just over exercising as a way to punish myself. So these are kind of like things that I know that are my trigger points as an adult. And so with my previous relationship, I felt myself like spiraling, emotionally eating, or emotionally like eating when I was unhappy, not eating when I was unhappy, like using eating as a way to control my feelings. And so being aware of your own emotional triggers really helped me understand that I was doing things that was not right in my relationship. And I think like having like just asking yourself the right questions is also really helpful. And like kind of really being in tune with your body. And it's like a really hard thing to do, like getting to know yourself, kind of almost like getting into bed with yourself and asking yourself those tough questions, like, how am I feeling today? Why am I feeling this way? What's going on with me? On like a regular basis, like kind of checking in with yourself, and taking that time to reflect on, the past week, or even those memories that you had together that you may not want to think about. So like, I think it's kind of like getting into a relationship with yourself is really helpful in kind of seeing what's going on in your current relationship.
Yeah, I think that's so important that you mentioned that everything really does stem from the self first.
Yeah.
And I feel like, a lot of times we kind of end up tying these things into all sorts of topics, because at the end of the day, I think it's safe to say that we are the only common denominator in every single thing in our life, whatever topic we're discussing.
Yep.
But particularly in relationships, the relationship we have with ourselves will typically then project and create the relationships with others.
Yeah.
I'm making any sense. But great. So, what were any challenges that you had to overcome with your husband? I mean, even though you guys are going strong and you have family together, what are the challenges that you find yourself working through that continue to allow your relationship to thrive?
Oh my God. Like, I don't know if there's any parents in the audience, but becoming parents together is one of the most vulnerable times in your life, because everything gets flipped 180. And as a woman, as a mother, when you become a mother, a lot of your attention goes to the kids. And and like, I experienced it. I mean, I'm not going to speak for all mothers, but for me, resentment towards your partner after becoming a mother is huge. And I think that's still an ongoing thing that we are working through, is as I talk about the maternal instinct, right? Like this idea that women are born into this kind of maternal role. Like, I really hate that word, because I think that, and it's actually been, science has been shown that men also have that instinct, and when spent enough time with their babies, certain hormones get released where they're bonding with their babies, and their amygdala, which is in control of, I think, certain, like, just the emotions of your brain, also change. Like, they looked at studies in homosexual couples of men who have babies, like, both experience that kind of natural instinct to care for one another, to care for their baby. And so, like, that is going to be, I think, one of the biggest challenges that my husband and I have, which I have no experience in because we didn't have kids with my previous guy. So, like, I think that's definitely going to be a challenge, and as well as like, that working mom guilt, right? Like that, and I don't like that term, but there is like, right now, my husband's upstairs with the kids, and he's sending them to bed and doing all that. And we have a pretty equal share in the responsibilities of our kids. But, like, I want to be there with them too. Like, there's that kind of, like, that internal battle with myself of, I love doing this stuff. I love talking about these things and sharing my stories and lessons and really helping people. But also at the same time, I love being a mom. And seeing him so effortlessly go to his job and do his thing and then come home and not have that guilt. It's like, there's a lot of resentment against him, even though he's not doing anything wrong. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's going to be something, like, a challenge that we're definitely going to have to work through. And I know, like, talking to other parents and that have gone through this and their kids are a lot older, they say it gets a lot better because the kids need the parents, like, need you less. And then you can kind of have more time and space to come together as a couple and, actually have more date nights and have more quality time and conversation and stuff like that. It's not just limited to the couple hours that you have at night before you guys go to bed. So I think, yeah.
You know what, you mentioned something that's kind of interesting. I'd like to explore a little bit more about resentment.
Oh yeah.
Tell me about that. When are you feeling resentful with your husband?
I think it is like the fact that he doesn't feel guilty. Like, he's a realtor, 15 years as an accountant, and then always loved real estate. And then now he loves doing real estate. That's his passion. That's his livelihood. Mm-hmm. And he can pick up and go, and just, like, he'll be like, hey, I gotta open, like, today. He's like, I got a showing today at 3. I'm like, cool, do your thing. Right. And he just goes and picks up and goes and comes back. And he obviously and he's also, we're very equal in the parenting. Like, he'll just pick up, he'll he's changed like diaper changes. He's even done more than me actually. Like that kind of stuff he's done more, like,
Well, where's the resentment coming in from?
It's called the invisible load of motherhood, which is the things that go inside our brains that men, I don't know if it's men or just the husbands, don't think about. Like I keep a track of what she's eaten all day, like my kids, what they've eaten, what do they need, the emotional labor, things that are invisible to the things that we actually do, that he doesn't carry. So he can go to bed and just go to bed. Whereas for me, I'm like, I go to bed, I'm like, fuck, like I got to make sure did she took a bath? Did I clean her ears out today? Did I, like, oh, she's got her favorite toy upstairs. Is it, should we bring, these little things that mothers have in their back of their brains that they're worrying about their kids. Like he doesn't do that. He just goes like, oh, the toy, right? I don't know where it is. It's like, we'll find it if she needs it. Whereas for me, I'm like, no, she needs her toy. Like it's her thing. I think that's where the resentment comes from, is that difference in carrying that invisible load of motherhood that resentment comes from. Resentment, there's lots of like resentment with my parents, with like people. It just, there's like a whole whack of people.
Well, let's go there. Let's talk about resentment and how that shows up. And again, remember we talk about childhood stuff. It always stems from that, and it spills over into all sorts of relationships. So, including our parents that we still continue to have the relationship with, right? How do these things still show up in a way that run our life and maybe deliver the results that we don't want? And how do we get to shift that into the results that we do want?
Yeah. I mean, that's tough. I mean, like, if you can go deep dive into the resentment for our parents, like, it's so hard not to resent the things that they've done and the way they've parented, because, as a child, we are so innocent and they're supposed to be our guide and our mentors and our role models, our superheroes, right? Like, and when they don't do a perfect job, it's really hard not to blame them for our.
And can I interrupt?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is good. See, even when you said right now, to be perfect and then to blame them, right? So I'd like to invite you to even, we can reframe perfect, because there's no such thing as perfect.
No.
Right? If we can all wrap our heads around the fact that there's no such thing as a perfect parent, as a perfect child, as a perfect anything, then number one, we are able to let go of expectations that they should have it all figured out so that my life can be perfect, because perfect doesn't exist.
No.
Right? And then once we can kick that perfectionism out of the picture, can we just accept the fact that our parents are human and they probably did the best they could, and that, they did come from a good place for the most part.
Yeah.
For the most part, right? Let's just assume or give them the benefit of the doubt that they were doing their best. And, we get a little misguided sometimes. And so as we grow up and we realize, like, father, like you said, very similar to mine, father who's yelling all the time and mother who's like trying to keep the peace, balance it out. We learn two very extreme dynamics, and we're trying to figure out which one are we. Am I the yeller? Am I the one that's going to back down? Or, and it's this push and pull, and we're trying to basically find somewhere in the middle. So we're grounded and we can move forward and not continue these patterns. So, in terms of the resentment that shows up for you with your parents and shows up for you with your husband, can there, what kind of conversation can you have with them that can, dispel the resentment?
Well, I wrote an entire book on how to deal with our Asian parents. And it's not easy. It's not a clear-cut solution for everyone. I mean, with all self-help books or courses or anything that we take, it's you can't have a one size fit all. And the answer really lies within the person reading it and applying the words that you've read to your life. And so those conversations about resentment, I mean, I think first is having that idea that you resent your parents for that. Like, I think some people may not have that realization in themselves that the way they behave, maybe they don't like something about themselves and they don't actually realize it came from their childhood. I think that is a first step, is understanding themselves and be like, oh, this is the way I'm behaving. Like, I'm over functioning for my partner. Where's that coming from? Or, I'm overeating. Where is that coming from? Or whatever behavior that you're trying to change or improve, where is that coming from? And then kind of drilling it down to, oh yeah, in my childhood, this is what happened. Maybe it's a parent, or maybe it was an auntie or uncle or family friend, whatever it was, and tying that in and understanding why that happened and how it influenced you, and then learning to make peace with it. And I think that's, like, before you even have a conversation with your parent, is first realizing that that's where it came from, and then trying to tease out that, trying to empathize with them of their situation, of what they've gone through. And if you haven't gone to that point where, like, because some people, they may have these resentment against their parents, but because they've hated them so much, they've just cut themselves off and have absolutely no relationship with their parents at all. And they don't even know a lot about their parents, even like as peers, because growing up, you see your parents, they're like, they're parents, they're the head of the household. They just do their thing. They're the managers and we're here, right? You don't actually have a peer-to-peer relationship with your parents until you're older and as an adult, and that's where it's supposed to kind of shift, where you're more of a, I guess, equal or a peer in life. But if you've never had that, you're always constantly seeing them as parents, even though you're like 30, 40, 50 years old, like, then you're not going to be able to understand their mindset because you've never been able to have that conversation. But yeah, so like, that's kind of what I talk about in my book, which is there are 5 steps. And the first step to really embracing that relationship with your parents is understanding why you want to have a relationship with them in the first place, and why you want to improve it. Like, I think that is, because if you can't really change something if you don't really think it's a problem. Like, you know what I mean? If there's no desire to change, then why fix something that you don't really think is an issue? So it's kind of diving in why you want to actually have a relationship, why you want it to improve. And once you understand your reasons, like some people's reasons could just be like, I want to be able to sit through dinner without having to bite my tongue. That could be a reason. Like, for me, like, for my own reason, like, I want to improve my relationship with it's mainly my dad, is because I'm like, I'm a parent now. I want to know where I came from. I want to know my roots. I rejected my culture for a lot of my life. Now that I'm a mom, I actually kind of want to preserve some of the bits, like the Chinese culture, like the language, the food, all these things that I kind of rejected. How can I bridge that gap? How can I preserve it if I don't really start from the first place where I got it from, which is my parents? And then also, I feel like the more I know my parents, the more I know myself, and the more self-awareness I have, the better relationship with myself I have, and then just the better mom I will be, and the better wife I will be, a better friend, a better speaker, everything. Like, it will just improve once I know myself more. So really, it's kind of like a selfish reason to improve my relationship with my parents. So understanding your why, and then it's the what, which is actually finding some sort of common ground, like a topic that you can talk to your parents about, whether it be food or sports or, I don't know, like lawn. I'm just looking at your background. Like, my dad loves to take care of his lawn. I can talk to him about like grass all day. You know what I mean? Like, and finding some sort of common ground with your parents so that you can actually have a decent civilized conversation, whether it's small talk or not. And then, so that's kind of like the what, finding common ground, and then how, like, how do you actually start having like a little bit more difficult conversations? Like, how do you actually start talking a little bit about your feelings, about your childhood, about things that happened in the past that may be very touchy for them? And then, so it's the why, what, how, and then it's the when, which is when can you accept your parents for who they are? And it really comes down to what your why was. Like, if your why was originally, I just want to be able to sit through dinner without biting my tongue. Well, if you've met that why, then that's when you can start to accept them for who they are. It's kind of like drawing back from, like, really understanding your why. Once you've gone through the what and the how quite a few times, got to know them, oh, now, wow, I actually really know my roots. I know, where this Chinese dish came from, where I ate it, and I know how to make it now, or whatever, why you had. And then the last step is who, and it's like, who are you after all this? You know what I mean? And coming back to loving yourself, embracing your past, and realizing that, yeah, there are influences from your past that affect your present, but it doesn't define who you are. And you're in control of your destiny. You're in control of creating the future that you want. You don't have to become your parents. And you can be a better mother, a better father, a better friend, a better sister, better guide, mentor, whatever than they were to you.
Mm. I like it. And I would like to, again, dive deeper into these steps. The steps are great, but how can you give me an example, like your process? Did you get to go through this, 1 through 5 steps with your parents as well? Understanding, like, can you give me some examples of that?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I can give you, so the why, okay, let me think of a couple examples. So when I learned to accept my parents for who they are, okay, so it was me. So I was like, I'd gone through quite a few cycles with my dad, just kind of having some deep conversations with him, finding about his childhood, my childhood. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in a good groove. I'm good, a good groove. I'm like knowing a lot about him. And I was, I think, 9 months pregnant at the time. I was like pretty much about the pop. And I was also writing a book for the organization that I work with. So I work for Emergency Medical Services, and we're doing some things on translational research. And I was like, I'm so proud of it. I co-authored a chapter while I was 9 months pregnant. Super proud. I go to my parents and I'm like, okay, how like with Asian parents, you don't really bring up your achievements. Like, you don't go like, Mom, I'm so happy I did this. You're kind of just very nonchalant about your things. And so I nonchalantly say, like, I co-authored a chapter in a book, Dad. And then he's like, oh, your sister wrote a book, I think. She's a really good writer. And I'm like, oh, okay. And right away, like that comparing, like the Asian parents comparing kids popped right and triggered me emotionally. And I was like, holy shit, like I just went through all these cycles with him. I know so much about him. I knew, like, and now it's like, I feel like I've just not got like all that progress that I've made is like gone back, but it hasn't. And I'm like, I don't feel as bad as I would have a few months ago or a year ago. Mm-hmm. And I think it's time that I've learned to accept him for who he is. And I think that, like, he said that, and he knew he was just merely bringing up, like, we were talking about books, and he wanted to bring up my sister. It wasn't to diminish my achievements. It wasn't intentionally trying to like hurt my feelings. That's just his mindset. That's how he behaves. And I think I got to a point where I could accept him. Yeah.
That's good. Actually, I had a very similar experience.
Yeah. Tell me.
I find that, and I think, honestly, this is why I want to create this space, is just this awareness where so many of us have very similar experiences, and it's not you. Like, there's nothing wrong with you. It's, I think what it is too, is like, we take things so personal, right? So if in your interpretation of, if your dad switched the subject from you to your sister, if your interpretation of it is, oh my God, like, he doesn't care about me, he only cares about my sister, just as an example, then because of our interpretation alone, then of course we show up a certain way. Our reaction with him, it could either be anger, it could be we'll shut down, right? And then we kind of miss the opportunity. Then if you're going back to, I want a relationship with my father. So now, because the topic here is relationships, we get to commit to the relationship that we want. So the commitment is, you know what, if my dad, in Catherine's case, is going to shift the conversation about my sister, I'm going to be present and still be committed to this conversation with him, because he's still communicating with me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not in the direction that I wanted this conversation to go, but that's actually the beauty of dialogue, because it's not, it's not scripted. It's not like I'm going to say this, then you say this, and then I'll respond with this because I know what you're going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I mean, it's such real time. That's why I think like the self-development, self-help, and awareness is so important, because it comes down to also our emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Learning to control our emotions, not allowing it to take control of the situation. So let's get back to relationships. What does relationships mean to you, Catherine?
Oh, relationships mean a lot. Like, I think for most of my life, I think this whole relationship with myself only appeared recently. I think maybe like in the last 7-8 years. Relationships to me is like the roles that you have in your life and the people that you care about in your life, and how that dynamic works. And I think there's a spectrum of relationships, like romantic, non-romantic, family, non-family, distant relation. Like I think it's just who you are with everyone else, and their energies affect you and your energies affect them.
Yeah.
I think it's just everyone in your life, like in just people, every person you meet, speak, have an action with, there's a relationship right there.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. I think, actually that's kind of cool that you say that, because I feel like even strangers, even though it's brief for a split second, there's an opportunity that we're in relationship in this moment.
Yeah.
Right? The relationship could be friendly. The relationship could be tense. It could be negative, whatever. And then you mentioned energy. So like energy is so important. Like, again, it all comes down to self-awareness. If I'm aware of my energy, or if I'm unaware of my energy, then I don't even realize what I'm attracting. So if I'm aware that I am negative and I'm always cynical and I see everyone as the enemy or out to get me, then the relationship I'm creating with them is going to be that. It's going to show up that way.
Yeah.
But if I'm like, I want to have loving, trusting, fun, whatever type of relationships, I'm going to show up that way. Yeah. So when I show up that way, now I encounter a stranger, that's already what I'm bringing to the table. And if that's who they are, it could invite that same energy out.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that idea. And I think it's the energy piece. I think I wrote a thing about, like, that term RBF.
Yes.
And like, because that is someone's energy, right? Like, it's all being, I'm not even going to go through the whole, because I'm a feminist and I know that whole idea that why are we labeling women, whether they're smiling or not? And, like, who cares what their face looks like? Like, I'm not going to go down that road, but that idea that someone has a negative energy, and that negative energy with themselves can attract negative people. You know what I mean? Like, it's like in dating, if you are really, really like toxic to yourself, you're going to attract people who like toxic people. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like, yeah. I mean, we've all met, because that's why I talk about like the needs, the wants, and the deserves. Like, the deserves piece is so important, because I think we have all had either a girlfriend or boyfriend or friend of ours where they just keep attracting the wrong people, whether it's dudes that stand them up, or girls that just want them to pay for their meals, or whatever, like just toxic people.
Yes.
But then you're like, oh my God, like, you should just go for, like, why, like, I love you, you're so amazing. Like, why are these wrong people like coming into your life? But then you think about your friend, and you're like, they are kind of toxic to themselves. They're not exactly, mentally the most positive person. They're attracting the wrong people because they're not treating themselves right. You know what I mean?
Oh, and 100%.
So there's that, and then you've got the people, the deserves piece. You've got, so the people who attract the toxic people. Then you have a lot of people who are constantly saying, "Oh, I need a guy who's like, a billion things on my list. Like he's got to be tall, he's got to be successful, he's got to be like, looks like Jude Law or whatever dude, or like all these things." And then you look at them and they're like, "You don't really take care of yourself. Like you're not really that great. You're in millions, like thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. You're not working out or whatever." And then you want all these things. Like it's kind of like you got to look in the mirror and you got to see the good, the bad, the ugly. And some people's mirrors are smudged. You know what I mean?
So good.
And they don't see the truth. And it's hard to get into bed with ourselves if you can't see the truth.
Oh my God, that's so good.
And I had to do that with myself. And it was vulnerable. Like I was like, oh man, I am toxic to myself. That's why I'm attracting these guys who are ghosting me. And I'm attracting this catfish dude who didn't want to meet up with me. You know what I mean? Like I was not right with myself. And it's until you switch that mindset and you stop treating yourself like shit, that's when you start attracting people who don't like to treat people like shit.
Exactly. 100%. I mean,
like I love that energy.
It's so good. No, it's so true. And I remember actually going through a phase in my life. I was in my, like mid to late 20s. And it's the same thing. I was like, man, like, why do I keep attracting these like type of girls, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. Again, what I said earlier on this episode is like, that I'm the common denominator. So I can't be like, oh, it's all them. It's me. There's something about me that is attracting these women. So what is it? I get to look in the mirror. I get to see the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it. And just embrace it and go, okay, and then what do I want?
Yeah.
Just like what you said, when you met your husband, once you went through all the like bad negative experiences on online dating, then you were like, okay, let me get clear. Let me see what I want. Let me write it down. Let me like visualize it almost.
Yeah.
And then manifested it.
Yeah.
I mean,
and like,
what was that?
Yeah. And some people just, I think it's really hard for them to do that though. Like, because our egos are in the way, you know what I mean? And because dating is such a vulnerable process, it is like you are constantly putting yourself out there. And like, I call it, like, it's like, what I say is you putting your ego in the gladiator ring, your naked ass out there, just fighting. And you're fighting with yourself really, because every time you put yourself out there, you may get hurt. Most likely you'll get hurt, I would say. Because it's never, it's really hard to find that. It's not an easy process. There's a reason why. Dating is such it's like a huge area for people to talk about. And then you got to go back into your, the like wherever gladiators go back, and you got to lick your wounds. And you're like, I got to go back out there now. I got to put my ego back out there.
Right. Can I invite to shift the perspective of not so much putting our ego out there. Yeah. I think what really needs to happen is to put our ego on the damn shelf.
Exactly. At the door.
The ego is not your amigo. I don't know if you guys ever heard that saying, but it really, you know what? We will always have our ego. Our ego is there to actually protect us. Our ego is there to, it's our mask.
Yep.
Okay. And if we can identify the difference between our mask and our mask, aka egos, and our true authentic self, the true authentic self is saying, here I am, I'm willing to be hurt. The ego is like, no, you aren't going to hurt me.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I know what I'm going to do. I got my games. I got my little strategies, show up a certain way. So I keep you keep you at arm's length, or I have the wall up, but you may not see this wall.
Yeah.
However, when we're really committed, again, to creating relationships, and we are able to, again, put the ego on the shelf and really just, like you said, be vulnerable, At the end of the day, yes, it's scary. Yes, it can be painful. But at the end of the day, it's the most real thing ever that people can experience of you, and the opportunity to finally attract what is real in relationship. Because, right, if you show up in your true authentic self and they stick around, that means they accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
then it comes down, like what you said, Catherine, like about accepting ourselves. Because again, I remember posting in the group about, like self-acceptance is the like biggest form of healing. When we can accept ourselves, then others can accept us too in relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think it is about taking that ego out at the door. And I think when you see dating as a learning process about yourself, it really helps you remove that ego. Like when it doesn't work out and you do get hurt and you feel like you've put yourself out there and you're not receiving what you're wanting, then it's like, no, it's not my ego is bruised or like, I gotta now put all my armor back on and protect myself so I don't get hurt again. But rather, here's what I've learned about myself. This is what I'm going to look for the next time. Let's try and be even more authentic, present even more of who I am to the next person. You know what I mean? It's like switching that mindset of it's learning. It's not, I got rejected or this guy dumped me or this girl dumped me. It's just, I'm going to learn from this.
Yeah.
I think, you know what I mean? Like switching it rather than like a rejection. It's not rejection. It just didn't work out. Like it's just a moment to learn about ourselves.
And you know what I love about like what you mentioned about rejection is I always see rejection as redirection.
Yeah.
So life is just pushing you in another path. It's clearly that just wasn't it. It's part of the journey, but the journey continues. The path goes on and it's leading you somewhere. You get to just trust that,
Absolutely.
Really quickly, I want to say, I know we've got like about 15 minutes left. My computer is actually like about to die. So I'm gonna let you jump in, share what you got to share. But I'm gonna go on my phone so that way we don't get cut off. And we'll go audio if this one crashes, okay? But
okay.
Yeah. Hey, guys, we gotta go on the whim. We gotta go.
I gotta go on the whim.
Right?
So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I talk about with dating is that needs, the wants, and the deserves, and of course just seeing it as a learning journey and seeing it as a way to learn more about yourself. And when you switch that mindset about self, it's about improving your self-awareness. And I think when you put yourself out there and you become more vulnerable, you actually have an opportunity to accept yourself more. You know what I mean? Like if you talk about more about self-acceptance, when you go through something like that, when you do get hurt, you're like, when you change your mindset and view it as learning, you're going to say to yourself, maybe it's not because, the way I dressed or this thing I talked about or this thing that didn't align with what he wanted or she wanted or what we wanted to talk about. It's just that it didn't work out and they're not the right person for me. So I do have my books here. As you can, I don't know if you can kind of tell, like my style is very brutally honest and I'm very raw and real and just straight to the point. I do a lot of real talk in my writing, in my courses. So if you're not like a reader, if you don't like to read, I know a lot of people are more of an audio visual learner. 2 of my books are converted into courses if you like, and they are on Udemy. So this is the brutally honest dating guide. I purposely put an Asian man on there as the cover. Another conversation about Asian men and attraction. Anyway,
that's awesome. I love it.
Representation, I think, is also another thing that is huge for Asians, especially during this time of COVID. And there's a lot of, at least in my area, there is a lot of racism that's going on against Asian looking people because of the COVID and the coronavirus. And anyway, so there's the Asian Parents book. I self-published these, so I chose all the covers myself. So this is supposed to like represent some blood, the black and the red.
It's very melodramatic, for Asians.
Yeah. I know. I mean, or you can do it as like luck, right? Like Chinese people, red is luck as well. I don't know.
There you go.
And then once you get into a relationship, you could try and get healthy and happy and healthy marriage. And it's very straight up. Like, it's very easy to read. At least the reviews that I've gotten, they like how it's really easy, straight to the point, real raw, short read, under 2 hours kind of thing. And it's like my most authentic. This is the most authentic that I've ever been in my life in this platform. Like, since I started my blog in August 2017, I've never been this authentic in my entire life, like with myself, with my friends, with my coworkers, everyone. Just like, it's an amazing journey since I started this whole thing. And the people that I've met, like, yourself, you just, in the powers of the internet, you can really just meet anyone and be able to connect.
Well, what's so cool is, when we were talking about energy in itself, the energy that you've created around these books and your audience, you've attracted that within your sphere.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. Like, again, energy is somehow you and I, we've attracted each other in each other's lives. So here we are,
Yeah. I mean, so what was your journey with, like, I mean, I actually don't know, like, are you with anyone? Are you like or dating, or, I mean,
that might be a whole nother episode for us. I'm just kidding. I'm recently new in the dating arena. For me, for almost 3 years, it's been 3 years, a little shy of 3 years since I broke up with my ex. And I did a lot of self-healing, a lot of self-discovery, inner work. I knew it, that relationship was a huge mirror for me in showing me where I got to look further into. And, because I definitely didn't like what I saw in the mirror.
Yeah.
And it was painful, but it was so needed. And I'm so grateful for it. It was the biggest gift I could have ever asked for, to be honest. That's why I always say, like, I embrace my pain. I embrace the lessons learned, because if it weren't for those things, I mean, I would have never grown. I wouldn't be here who I am today. And so I feel a lot more prepared to, get back into the dating scene. So I'm excited. I'm very optimistic about it, even amidst all this, COVID lockdown, social distancing thing. I'm just making the most of it, and I'm not attached to like how it should look like. Whereas in the past, and I'm not even gonna lie, I feel like I still struggle with that. I'm like, oh, wait, I'll catch myself. I'm like, no, you get to trust the process. Like, every relationship, every process is going to be different. You can't compare how, it was with so-and-so, because each and every single one of my relationships were different with, so the person I'm dating now, like I get to just let it unfold the way it should and see where it goes, and just be present in the moment, not what happened in the past and what might happen in the future, Yeah. So it's been fun, to say the least. Like, I'm really learning to make the most out of it and enjoy the process.
Well, that's the best way to do it, I think, is to just be in the present and enjoy it, because it is an interesting experience. And if you can really make it present, it's makes it more meaningful, than just a step,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Amazing. Oh man. So, what we'll do is at the end, well, did you, I'm not sure, because I know I kind of, you lost me for a second there. Were you able to share your website with
no, I didn't. No. Oh yes.
Great.
This would be a great time.
Yes.
So my blog is Sum on Sleeve, so SUM on sleeve, so like sum is in heart and then on sleeve, so .com. And if you want access to like all the books and stuff and courses, just go sumonsleeve.com/books, and then it'll have like all the information of each book, what they're about, and they're also available on Amazon, so you can just even Amazon just like type in my name or whatever. And then my courses, you can also go sumonsleeve.com/courses to find my courses. So I've got one on a tactical guide on building your self-esteem.
I love it.
And then the second one is the how to deal with your Asian parents, but in a course format. So it's a lot of the book content in the video of me with slides, with me talking to you, in case you're more of an audiovisual learner. And then the other course is the Brutally Honest Dating course, in course format, so audiovisual. And there's also like, I actually go through like, because some people may not know some of the online dating protocols and social etiquette things. So don't go texting like crazy before your first date. Like that's kind of like, if you just text, it's like, okay, well, let's try and meet up, or at least do a video conference, or because in the end, if you're going to want a relationship with this person, I don't think it will be text based, at least not until I guess like 100 years down the road when everything's virtual, I guess, but virtual reality. But for now, I think it's don't text so much. Like it's have that real conversation with someone, have it face to face,
Exactly. No, it's true. I find that, we are becoming a little lazy because text is so convenient. And is the laziness, though, a mask of being afraid to be vulnerable, being afraid to reach out, being afraid to be seen, even, like it's so important that we have these conversations. Like you said, I mean, this is going to be someone that you're going to potentially spend the rest of your life with. You want to know like how they interact, how they're in communication. I mean, to break the ice, like we cannot have quality relationships just solely via text.
No. And you can that's the thing, is that people can think about their answers and like craft crazy messages that aren't actually who they are, and take too long to think about what they're going to write. And then it's like, like if you just keep it real and raw and have a conversation over the phone or a video, like nowadays the technology is so amazing that just hop on a call. Like I know right now it's a lot of the social distancing thing, but just hop on a call and have a conversation and be brave. And it's okay if it doesn't work out. Like if you, at the end, like after 15 minutes of talking, you're like, oh my God, this person's not at all. Then it's okay. You learned a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. And you saved yourself a lot of time.
Yeah. Dude,
you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, why do you want to continue investing emotions and feelings? I think like a lot of times we tend to like fantasize or I idealize what we think this person is going to be like based on how they look, based on, just again, very superficial things. And we kind of like, we just drift off into like la la land, but like, let's get real, like you said, face to face and see it 3D, or at least, via FaceTime, Zoom. I hear about people are getting creative, they're getting on Zoom, having Zoom dates. Like that's cute,
Yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, like, there's also like, I remember there was a guy that was dating, and that's all he did. He would just text me after work, and it was like a text buddy. And then we just never met. And then when I asked him, like, hey, let's hang out, he just like ghosts me. So that also happens. So don't fall into that. And also don't like completely stalk the guy or the girl or the person to the nth degree on Google and find out everything about them, because that's gonna
be a mystery, right?
Yeah, like keep a little bit of a mystery, because what they present about themselves online, because almost everyone's got an online presence nowadays. But don't go like crazy, because you're gonna set your high expectations too high, or maybe you'll find something you don't like, and then you're just gonna miss that opportunity. You'll be like, oh, he has a cat. I hate cats.
Yeah. Seriously, that's so true. That is so true. That's really good advice, though, Catherine. I mean, I love that. It's, I think again, and come on, let's face it, guys. We've probably all done something in our past that, like, that's not who we are anymore.
Yeah.
So, we all grow, and like you said, you might find something that you don't like, but that may not even be them anymore. They may have posted or gone through a time in their life where they were lost.
Yeah.
And that's not who they are now. So give them that opportunity. Give people a chance, and give yourself that chance to find out, instead of just assuming, hiding behind the screen. No. Let's get out. Let's get real. Let's get authentic and make connections. That's what we want here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, this is a good, great talk, Catherine. Thank you so much for being here today. I truly enjoyed the conversation, and just, getting to know you a little bit better. And definitely, I know we're going to hear more of you.
Well, thank you so much, Angie. This has been so much fun. Like, I love these conversations with people of similar, just like this idea of connecting and having a conversation with someone who shares the same wavelength and energy. And like, I'm getting so much positive energy from this. Just, it's amazing. And it's making my Friday for sure.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. We'll continue just spreading out love and good vibes, and, definitely build this platform's audience and, community. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for doing this. Like, this is amazing. This is like amazing what you're doing, and connecting people and having that platform for people to share their stories and provide, and, just provide their lessons and share and learn from one another.
Absolutely.